Hey everybody. All right, I got a question for you. Why are bar chords considered so important? Or are they? All right. The great news about the answer to this question is that you're the one that decides the answer. All right, so what do I mean when I say, hey, the answer to that question is up to you? Well, let me break it down. So there are generally two reasons or two types of people that head to the guitar shop that amazing sunny day to pick out your new friend, right? All right, so there are those of you that are young that aspire to make a living in the music business. You want to take this as far as you can take it. You want to be in bands, you want to form bands, you want to write music, you want to make a living off of music, right? Okay, if that's you, then remember we have that thing called the 10,000 hours to master your craft. And if that's you, you are going to have to understand and be very good at every aspect of playing guitar, including music theory and everything that goes along with it, right? To master your craft. Now, if that's you, then bar chords are very important. Absolutely. And you'll see as I demonstrate in just a little bit. Now, if you headed to the guitar store on that same beautiful sunny day to pick out your friend, but your sole motivation was, hey, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 55, I'm 62, I'm 78, I'm 84. I just want to play some of the songs that I grew up with. I want to play because my friends play and I want to fit in. I want to play guitar because I want to be able to pull it out on a Friday night at a party and get everybody singing along. Well, maybe I've written some lyrics and I want to learn just enough guitar that I could put those lyrics to music. And the most important reason is, hey, I just want to have fun playing my guitar. If you answer the question like that, then you know what? Bar chords are not important to you. And furthermore, if you answered that question that way, and you stick around till the end of the video, I'll show you how you can play songs from the most challenging key, the key of E, because it only has two open chords, but we can play all the chords without a single bar chord. All right? And of course, I want to hear from those of you in the middle of your journey, at the start of your journey, or at the end of your journey, how this was relevant to you. Did you choose bar chords? Do you want to play them but are intimidated? Are you trying right now every day to play and master bar chords, but it's just so difficult? And every day you wonder, like I did, why am I doing this? This is impossible. Right? Okay, so look, the reason I say make the decision is because don't do what I did. And I wasted months and months and months of my guitar journey. I didn't start till I was 50. And I wasted so much time trying to learn bar chords before I realized that, hey, this just isn't happening. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time to waste. We want to put every minute of effort into our guitar that we have to get the best results as quick as possible. All right? All right, so let's now take a look at why bar chords are important. All right, so bar chords. Now, learning bar chords, now there are 4 shapes that you must learn, okay? Learning your bar chords will immediately allow you to play any chord out there. Majors, minors, sevenths, flats, sharps, you name it, you can play it with bar chords. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, okay? And also, when we look at the structure of the bar chord and how it's put together, we can then see that there are things within the bar chord itself, the particular shape of the chord that we're playing, that will allow us to kind of, it's an offshoot to other techniques like triads, scales, knowing your 1-4-5s, power chords. These are all hidden within the typical bar chord shape, right? And that's what I'm going to show you now. So again, by learning just the 4 shapes, right? I'm not going to go through it in detail because we have videos here and this information is readily available everywhere. But we have the major shape, okay? The E major shape. We have the E minor shape, okay? We have the A minor shape, and we have the A major shape. And using those shapes, we can play minor and major chords, right? Now, there are derivatives of these shapes where we incorporate or remove a finger or put a finger somewhere else in that equation, and that will give us, seventh chords or suspended chords or that kind of stuff, right? So we can literally play anything if we're willing and able to learn little derivatives of the basic bar chord formulas. Also, things like this. Let's take the G major bar chord as an example. So there's our G major shape. Now, many times over the years when I was starting out, right, and I knew nothing about this kind of stuff. I knew nothing about theory for at least 4 or 5 years that I was playing guitar and writing songs, I might add, okay? So, again, that's another thing about, do we need theory? But that's a story for another day. But if we look at the theory side of things, and we have our G-shaped bar chord, and a lot of people don't realize that, well, from this, we can get a lot of information, and we can play this same chord other ways. So a couple of those ways we can play this chord would be one in the form of triads. And how do we find, and I used to see videos like this where they would say, oh, now, see, there's your major chord, and then you see, now we got your triad in here too, and then we can start playing our triad. And I'm like, stop, slow down. Where is it? How do I find it? Now, that's probably just the videos I watch, but here's your G major. Now, if we wanted to turn this into a G major triad, okay, then all we would have to do is remove the bar, okay, and replace it with a little mini bar on the first 2 strings, okay? Then we would take these last 2 fingers and just take them off the equation. And what we're left with would be a G triad, but we only play those first 3 strings. And that's a G triad. The root of this triad, just like in the bar chord, is the G root right here. Now we've taken away this other root because that's what the bar was there for. So we don't have that anymore. So we've replaced it with this thinner or higher voicing, okay? And now what we have is the same chord, but it sounds a little tinny, a little high, a little weak. But that's because we're only playing the 3 notes, the G and the B and the D. Now, when we play this full bar chord version like this, we're still only playing G, B, and Ds, as in notes. But what we're doing is we're playing multiple Gs. Like we're playing a G here, we're playing a G at the bottom of the bar, right? And we're playing a G here with our pinky, and we're playing, a B here and a D there, and it's just all G's, B's, and D's. When we remove that, we strip everything down, we're playing 1 G, 1 B, and 1 D. And in this case, the root note, G, is not the lowest. In other words, the closest note to me, right? It's here on that first string. So this would be called an inverted triad, right? We're not going to go into that right now, but it's still a G triad, okay? So it works everywhere. So let me show you. Let's do it in A. So we have our A bar chord. We remove the bar, we replace it with a mini, we remove these two fingers, and we have an A. This is a shape that's moved up the neck. B, C, D. We now have a movable triad shape played on the first three strings. And it all comes from the base of our bar chord. So once again, in super slow-mo, here's our G, okay? If we want to find the triad, the major triad, from the G major bar chord, we remove the bar, we replace it with a mini bar of the first two strings, and we remove these two fingers. And we only play the first three strings. That's it. Okay? And that works in every E major shape bar chord. Now, another thing we can get from that shape, right, is, let's say we want to know what the 1, 4, 5 chords. Now, those are very important chords. Those are the major chords in a key. If we want to play the 12-bar blues, 1, 4, 5. So I have a G shape here, and I don't know what my 1, 4, 5 chords are. And I got to play along. So how do I find them? Well, here's the 1, because that's the G note, right? The first note in the G chord. Just like G chord is the first chord in the key of G. So I have my 1 note right here, okay? My 4th would be under the 1. We know that from other videos. So that would be this right here, and that's a C, okay? So G, C, and then 2 up would be the D. That's the 5th. So now, in that shape, we have the 1, we have the 4, and we have the 5. Now, if we hold that 1 and 5 like that, and we just play those two strings, we have a G power chord. Power chords are not major or minor because they're missing the 3rd note. They're only the 1st and the 5th note. So they're just like a no-name chord named G. So there's no sex to it, okay? It's a power chord. But all of that comes from the shape. And then lastly, we have, of course, we're encompassing, in this case, many of the notes from the minor and major pentatonic scale, all within this shape, okay? So if we run down that, there's your minor pentatonic, and if you take a look at the box or the shape of the pentatonics, you'll see that the notes are all part of that bar chord kind of thing. So that's the importance of your bar chords. It allows you to play any chord, and it also opens the door to other theories and other ways to play that same chord. So it's really invaluable for the people that aspire to be professional musicians or to get the absolute most out of your guitar, which you don't have to be a professional with. But all I'm saying is these are things to the average person that answered the question, I just want to have fun, that you really, well, you don't need to know. And you don't need to waste the valuable time that you have learning it. Trust me on that. I played 6 years without bar chords. I wrote songs and I performed gigs, never used bar chords. All right? All right, now let's take a look at if you answered the question, hey, it's just for fun. All right, so for those of you that answered, hey, Ray, I just want to have fun. Okay, let's back up to the beginning a little bit. And this goes for everybody, whether you learn on YouTube or DVDs or like a guitar teacher. You're going to be told, all right, let's start off. We're going to learn our 8 open chords, right? A, C, D, D minor, E, E minor, G. Did I do A minor? Okay, so there's 8 open chords. Now it's funny because each of these chords has a different shape. So it's like someone said, okay, well, if we put a finger here, we put a finger here, or here, and whatever, and play those 5 strings, we got a C. And that's all you got is a C, okay? So we have to learn all those 8 shapes to play 8 chords, whereas in bar chords, we just have to learn really 4 shapes, and we can play every chord, minor or major, right? Okay, so, but as a beginner, we're directed to the open chords because they're easier to play. There's no arguing that. They're easier on our physical hands. They're just easier to play. And then once we get our open chords down, or some of our open chords, then we're led to songs that have 3 chords in them and 2 chords and 4 open chords in them. And everything is kind of easy as we go along, right? And we are directed to the keys of G and C. So all these songs that we learn as beginners, they all come from the key of G and C, and that's because there are no sharps or flats in those keys. Well, there's one sharp in the key of G, but it's an F sharp diminished. Now, just to give you a little insight, there's 7 chords in a key, 3 major, 3 minor, and 1 diminished. Now that diminished is the 7th chord. And we generally, like, I've never played a diminished chord, and I've been playing for many years. And it's a chord that is just not generally used in the beginners or intermediate phase of your guitar playing. And that's reality. So we tend to forget it and say, okay, there's 3 minors and 3 majors in a key. So if we learn, which they tell us to do, all these easy songs, they're all in the key of C and G because they use open chords. So we can play thousands of songs in those 2 keys and never have to worry about it. Furthermore, as we start to expand, we look into other keys. Oh, this song is in the key of, E. Well, in the key of E, there's only 2 open chords. So if you want to play songs in the key of E, you generally have to learn bar chords. And we start seeing other things like a B minor stick in there every now and then, or an F sharp minor. All right, now the choice is yours. I chose to learn those 2 bar chords early in my journey because they started coming up. But that's all I learned. And I have videos to show you on my channel how I learned it and how I sort of really got to play them well, and the practice routine that I went through. So if you want to check that out, it's there. And those 2 chords allowed me to expand my repertoire, okay? And, that's sufficient. And it has been sufficient for me for years. So the end of the day, as fun hobbyist guitar players, or guitar players even to the point where we want to play little gigs, sit and play all the favorite songs of people, we really don't have to know bar chords. Of course, it's advantageous if we know a few or if we know them all, but we don't have to, and that's the point. There are going to be certain songs as an open chord player that you either can't play because of the fact they need 3, 4, or 5 bar chords to play it, or you'll have to, big fancy word coming up, music word, transpose it to another key that maybe has less bar chords like C and G. Okay? I personally know people that take any song out there and transpose it down to C so they don't have to play bar chords. So the main reason I put this video together is for those of you that think and feel that you have to learn bar chords, because you don't. Okay? Especially for what we're doing with our guitar. And that's just reality. All right, and as promised, I'm going to show you one of the reasons why you don't need to play bar chords. It's just one reason and one way, but it's an eye-opener, okay? And I'm going to show you how to play in the key of E, which only has 2 open chords, and we're going to play a real popular song without using a bar chord. All right, here we go. Promised, I'm going to show you now how we can play songs from one of the toughest keys to play as an open guitar or open chord guitar player, and that's the key of E, because there's only 2 open chords in that key. So any song in the key of E is going to require that you play bar chords, unless we do something like this. First, I'm going to show you the song. So we start off in E, which is open, B, C minor, E, B, G sharp minor, A. And that was a C sharp minor before, by the way. So those are the chords that we would have to play in order to play this classic song. Now, if I take a capo, now this works for any song in the key of E. If I take a capo and I put it on 4, now what this does is this allows us to play the chords from the key of C, which are all open chords. Now, what chords you play in the key of C are going to depend on the song that you're playing. But for that particular song that I just showed you, here's how it would be played. small town girl living in a lonely world, yeah. Well, she took the midnight train home. All right, you see what I mean? Okay, now there are plenty more examples of that in all keys. This is what we can do as open chord players to avoid playing our bar chord. And more importantly, it takes the pressure off, right? Now, all of a sudden, at your own pace, if you decide that you want to add bar chords to your repertoire, you're more than welcome. But you don't have to depend on them. You don't have to waste weeks or months or longer trying to learn and perfect them before you can play any music at all. You can continue enjoying your guitar and make the bar chord journey a little side project that you're working on perpetually. All right, listen, I'd like to hear from anybody on your journey, no matter where you are, what you think of this. Do you agree? Which path did you choose? How did it work out for you? Let me know. And remember, there's only one way to get better at guitar. Just play your guitar. All right, see you later.